Hello and welcome to Unclecthulu Reviews. I'm your host, Unclecthulu. Today I'd like to talk about Black Powder rule set. So Black Powder, I've had the rules for years, it's only until a couple of weeks ago that I managed to get my first game in. The reason I did that is there's a charity called Warlord Uncovered, and it's organised by a guy called Tony Pollard who works, he's a lecturer at the University of Glasgow, and he does veterans charity that supports veterans and involves them in battlefield archaeology at Waterloo. And a couple of years ago they had some Warlord Games miniatures, they were painting them up at the site, something to do in an evening, and he came up with the idea of the Great War Game, which is going to be next year. It's going to attempt to set out a Guinness Book of Records for largest war game ran. So what we're looking for is 22,000 models on the field, approximately 100 commanders. It's going to be epic. Not only that, it's in my home backyard, Glasgow, so how could I not be involved? So I've signed up to be my beloved French. If a war game can have French in it, I generally would pick the French. Dash, Alan, attacking. So yeah, so I'm signed up for the French. I'm going to be Pergaud's command. Excuse the pronunciation, although I love being the French, I can't always pronounce it properly, did German at school, which is on the extreme right flank of the French army. So historically he attacked Papillote Farm where the Nassau was holding, so I think day one of the war game I'm going to be wanting to drive those Nassau out of Papillote Farm, take those complexes. Day two I'm going to be running interference on the Prussian forces reinforcing the left of Wellington's line. Certainly when the Prussians started arriving on the left, Wellington was able to take troops from the left to the centre so that he could hold against the guard attack in the middle. So yeah, really looking forward to this. Fortunately I've got most of the French army painted up that I'd need anyway, so me and my pal Martin, we had our first Black Powder war game. Now, like I say, I've had Black Powder for ages. Two reasons for that. First up, it's based on War Master by Rick Priestley, and War Master is one of my favourite set of war games rules there is. I love the fact that commanders have to issue orders, and those orders may not be interpreted and acted upon by the troops. And I want that in a war game. I don't want my troops to automatically know what I want them to do and be able to do it. I want that friction of orders not getting through, being misunderstood, things not quite going according to my plan as much as possible. Like I say, it's called friction in real war, and the amount of times general's battle plan has been mixed up, not gone through, not interpreted correctly because of stuff like that. You can imagine a rider not getting through. Charge those guns, which guns? Well, that was the charge of the Light Brigade. So in Black Powder and War Master, your brigade commanders give orders to his brigade, and hopefully they'll follow through. But the vagaries of dice roll mean you can't always rely on your troops doing what they need to do when they need to do it. But the same thing's happening to the enemy as well. The second reason I bought the Black Powder rules set and a host of supplements, so supplements wise I've got the two Albion Triumphants, Clash of Eagles, American Civil War, Last Argument of Kings, and the two colonial ones, the Sudan and the Zulu War. They're gorgeous. A full colour throughout. They've got artwork in them as you can see, but they've also got amazing photos of 28mm battles going on. The photography's amazing. Warlord Games certainly has knocked it out of the park in terms of what a historical war game supplement could be. For years I've just used them to look through or use them as a reference. So anyway, so the books. So yeah, the rules at its heart is the order system. A unit exists on the field until its stamina is hit. So that's its morale, that's its battlefield effectiveness reaches a certain point. After that, there's a chance it may rout off the field. And again, for me that feels right. Historically, troops didn't stand and fight to the last very often, and often formations would lose effectiveness and be forced to fall back off the field, or in some cases just rout off the field. So your forces will stick around. It's also based on the unit rather than individual models counting or individual bases coming off. So stamina is the only representation of how battered that unit is. So like I said, it was our first game, so we had about 15 battalions aside, 3 brigades each. We didn't have any artillery, and only the French had some cavalry. British were defending a farmhouse, and the French were attacking. And unfortunately, I didn't get to play the French. Martin also likes the French, so he took my French, and my British and Portuguese lost the farmhouse. It was a defeat for the British. So the game itself lasted about 3 hours, and we felt we reached a satisfactory conclusion. It was our first game, so going back and reading the rules, we found we got tons wrong. But we're certainly looking forward to our next set of games with it. So what else can I say about the Black Powder rules? So like I say, I love the command and control mechanics. The scenarios at the back are really inspirational. Now my 2 quibbles with the Black Powder rules is it's been designed a certain way, and that's with 8 foot by 6 foot tables in mind. I've yet to meet a wargamer in my circle certainly that has that space available to play those games on. So what I had to do was reduce all the ranges by 2/3. I mean, I love tinkering with rules at the best of times, but yeah, it's in terms of for the average wargamer, it just felt a bit out of our league. And I understand inspirational, aspirational, and I just wish that it had been written at 6x4 as a basis, and then extend to those folks that can have it. They can make their own adjustments to it. The second thing which I struggled with was the text. It's very densely written, and it's meant to be a conversational style between the author and the reader. And actually, when I had time to sit and read it, it's entertaining, it's informative, it talks about the reason why rules are there. And actually, I've seen Priestley public speak, and he's one of the most inspirational people I've seen speak in wargaming. I really like his stuff, really like his columns in the WSS magazine. But in terms of set of rules, what that meant was it was really hard to find rules when we were playing. And it being our first game, like I say, we've got a ton of stuff wrong, but a ton of stuff that if the rules had been clearer and more simpler, we could have found that. So for example, we got cavalry charging squares wrong, interpenetration got wrong because the actual detail of the rule was hidden in the conversational style of the text. So there was about 10 words when 2 would have sufficed. Like you say, the tone itself isn't off-putting, and actually when I sit down and read the book, it's an engaging read. In terms of easy manual to use while you're playing a game, like I say, pretty tricky. But other than that, yeah, I would recommend the rules to anybody. It's a lot of people play Black Powder. It's, as far as I know, one of the more widely played sets of rules. I think second edition is going to be released next year sometime, so I look forward to seeing second edition and what that's like. So I'd be wary about maybe buying a brand new copy just now. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on Black Powder. Recommend giving it a read. If you love miniatures, you'll love the book. And yeah, for those of you who I'll see next year at the Great War Game, I look forward to meeting you then. Anyway, thanks for your time. Thanks for watching. I hope to get our Facebook group set up for Unclecthulu so I can put stuff up. I also put pictures of the battles I've had and stuff as well, and the stuff I'm talking about. But thanks for your time today, and yeah, may all your dices roll 6s, unless the leadership, in which case you want 1s. Alright, bye now.